Thank you so much for joining us today for my talk show. It's quite an honor to have you here, sir. Would you mind telling me a little bit about, I know that you have been in the finance world for many, many years, and you started your position as a CFO with Mahindra and Philip India, TCS, and other big companies here in India over your career. And then you just recently started a new company called Fin Advisor?
Yeah, it's called Fin Advisors, LLP. Yeah.
LLP, correct.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing to know about your journey. So tell me what started you in the finance journey?
You know, I come from a business background in the sense my family was in business at one point of time, and at the initial stage of my career or even my life, I thought that I would be joining my family business. But you know, around the time when I was to leave college, we exited the family business, and I was a commerce student. So finance came naturally to me, and I was the first one from my family to actually move into service from business.
Okay. And so when you joined the finance world as a professional, is there something that made you fall in love? What excited you about being in this world?
See, I personally feel that the biggest journey which I had in the finance world, as you said, I've spent many years there, about 29, 30 years. At the beginning when I started my career, finance was seen more as or even the finance head was considered more as a bean counter. And if you see how finance has moved in the last 3 decades, we see of the finance head becoming a major business player after the CEO. So, the CFO function has evolved over a period of time. So you have major stakeholders with your employees, your fellow management staff. For listed companies, you have the investors and of course the board. So, the facet of managing all these stakeholders along the way was something which interested me over a period of time. And I really enjoyed the journey. And, as you mentioned, I started this firm about 10 months back. And one of the key exponents was I'm not alone in this. So we have, ex-CFOs and CEOs of tier 1 companies who have been in industry and are of repute. So they have also joined with me. And typically in the last 10 months, we have seen that the mid-sized companies have come to us with various kind of mandates. So we are a firm which has the potential, especially in the finance field and even in general management, to work with the mid-sector, the large sector, as well as the startups. So we have space for all of them.
Okay. I can sense your excitement around your startup and your firm. So how did you come up with this concept or this idea to start this company?
This concept actually I've been thinking for the last 2-3 years. That we
2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time to think on something.
Yeah. So I spoke to a lot of people who have been in this world, a lot of other professionals, tried to build up my network over a period of time, and we definitely felt that for the startup ecosystem as well as the mid-tier companies, there was a lot of scope of senior people like us who have been in industry in tier 1 companies holding the CXO positions of coming and advising them and also taking them to the next level. So when I talk about this, we just don't, currently we are concentrating more on the area of finance, but we want to make it even a more general management company as we move ahead. And we definitely feel that there's been a space for this particular segment.
Since you were experienced as a CFO for all those years, what was the best part of being a CFO?
I have gone through a couple of, the one which has interested me the most is, I have gone through a few public issues, both IPO and follow-on public issues. So during that point of time, I had a lot of interaction with, investors, analysts, the merchant bankers, the legal firms. And I found the journey to be very interesting, including I did a lot of roadshows in India, UK, US, Singapore. So I found that journey to be very fascinating, where we discover what the potential of a company is and then go out in the market and let the people know, let the investors know, let the analysts know as to what benefit they will get by making an investment in this company. I think that was one very fascinating journey which I went through. The other one was when I was in Tech Mahindra. The company was about 150 million when I joined. And in 5.5 years that I spent with them, it moved from 150 million to more than $1 billion. So that journey was something very fascinating and very
Wow.
fast-paced.
That's fascinating how you were able to increase the revenue from 150 to 5 billion. So what did you do? How did you accomplish that in your 5 years?
Of course, it was the larger team along with the CEO who drove that. But I think we took a lot of, I would say, radical and effective business decisions, number one. We increased the bandwidth of the customers. And of course, I do remember some of the very strong leadership which was provided by the then CEO at that point of time. And we increased business. There was huge dependency on one particular customer. We spread the customer base and increased the business from them. And of course, it was followed by a very successful public issue subsequently. So this is one journey I remember very well. And I also spent some time with Apple India in India itself. And the journey
Right.
which I remember more over there is, we took Apple into the local distribution mode in India. So that was another event which I remember, and that is one of the reasons why Apple has subsequently been successful in India. So these two journeys I remember very prominently.
Wow, that's great. I want to know, so with this process that you're speaking of, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay committed?
See, I have always been, I trust a lot of people along with me and always believed in hard work. So, the trust has helped because some of my team members who were there with me in the Mahindras and Reliance have joined me now. And they work diligently with me to take this to the next level. That is one. Number two, of course, I would like to mention about my family and kids. I spend a lot of time with them. My son has passed his MBA and he's got into a job. So in fact, I get a lot of ideas from him as well, which is very interesting. And so that helps me. And of course, I spend a lot of time, I love sports. So I watch a lot of cricket with this IPL going on now. I hear a lot of music. So it helps me in, moving out from the standard professional activities which I do. And of course, meeting a lot of people also helps.
Nice. So you keep in touch with them, they help you stay motivated and encourage your family, motivates you, your son motivates you. What other interests do you have outside of your professional career? I know you like cricket, you just mentioned that, and you're watching the IPL games now. What are your other interests?
See, I used to like, a lot of music in the Western world in the 70s and 80s. So I still listen to a lot of those music like the Beatles, Elton John, Pink Floyd, Dire Straits. So music keeps me a lot motivated, and I do a lot of reading as well. So I can remember two books which motivated me quite a bit. One was on Steve Jobs and the other one was on Jack Ma of Alibaba. I read those books and I felt very motivated. And amongst the writers which impressed me, two writers, Amitav Ghosh and Jhumpa Lahiri. I have read most of the books. I like those two writers quite a bit. So reading, watching sport, meeting up with friends, traveling, and a combination of the music which I mentioned. This is what keeps me up and going.
That's great. So tell me a funny story about your various experiences in working in office. Something that you can share with us, of course.
Yeah, I'll have to think a little bit, but two incidents which come to my mind. The first one was when I was working with a large company and a very senior executive joined the company on his first day. I was introduced to him in the morning, and I remember that our common boss was looking for him around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he came 2-3 times to me to ask for him, and I didn't know where he had gone, right? And that was his first day in the job. And then at 5 o'clock I saw the new entrant who was a very senior executive in the company. So I asked him where was he from 3 to 5, and that was his first working day in office. So he just winked at me and he said that he had lunch at home because his house was very close to the office. And he also had a quick nap in the afternoon. Eh,
Seriously?
yeah.
Really? So then what happened after that?
And you know, in an Indian situation with a large Indian company, I mean, I don't know what the boss thought about it. He was not aware of it, and he may not be aware of it even as of today. But when he told to me, I can tell you for sure that I had a very nice laugh about it, because it was something in a very serious environment, something very different. So this is one story I remember. The second story, which
That's
comes,
funny. That is funny. I mean, that's crazy when you think about napping. You know, I would be concerned when the boss comes, you know, to get caught,
right.
especially for napping. Oh my gosh.
But you have to accept that each one is different in his own way, right?
Right? Right?
Yeah. The second incident was a part of my team, again, a very senior person who used to work with me. So he had the strange habit of folding his hands like this every time he used to talk. So whenever I would talk with him and we used to discuss about some issues which we need to settle, to everything he would say, yes, sir. And, you know, later on I learned that 80% of what he said as yes, sir, would not happen. So over a period of time, maybe over a period of 6 months to a year, I don't remember the exact period, I understood him so much that with his body action, when he would do this action, out of 10 cases, I would be able to tell the exact 8 which would not happen, you know. And that was a very, so you know, after 6 months, I could tell the exact 8 because I had studied him. And when he was also telling me that he will do that, I would tell him immediately that this will not happen. Because he would never say no to anything. He would say yes to everything, but in his mind probably he had a tune that he will not do. I mean, these two cases are different and each one is different, right? So why one would do that? But you know, later on about these two cases, I used to have you know, I used to laugh to myself quite a bit, and I found it very funny in a work environment.
Right, that is funny. But especially with the motion of the arms, maybe there was something going on in his mind, not realizing it was telltale.
Yeah, true.
So tell me, what is your advice for our young and up and coming entrepreneurs, those who are pursuing, or young CFOs?
Right. So the first thing which I would put forward is patiently give 1,000 days to what you are doing, number one. Number two, have a story to tell. Have a good story to tell, you know, which you can explain to your potential customers. Number three, very important, is networking, and networking at the right levels. And fourth, talk to entrepreneurs who have gone through the journey. It always helps. They can give you the proper advice. Talk to some entrepreneurs who have gone and become a unicorn. Talk to a few entrepreneurs who have failed as well, because you need to know both sides of the story. So it is absolutely important that you know, these 4 steps one goes through, and this is what I would advise to young entrepreneurs who are coming in.
I'm going to use all of those guides for my path. That's great advice. And then I'm going to come to you when I need work and when I need advice, okay?
Okay, for sure.
If you were to write a book about your life, about your successes, your failures, all of that, what title would you give the book?
I would probably call it tidal waves, maybe, because, you know, like a wave, I had many ups and downs. So, and you know, when I go to a beach, I sit in the evening and watch the waves, and it probably gave me, you know, I thought about the title for my book when I see the waves and how it goes up and down.
Right. What are your top 3 values, Mr. Alok?
I would definitely put honesty as one of them, hard work as second, and in my case, trusting people has helped. So I would put trust as so I trust people, you know. I decide on certain people, and if I'm close to them, I really trust them to the fullest.
Wow. Those are great. I think we're getting close to the end of time. I want to just thank you so much for joining us. I've really enjoyed listening to your journey. I'm looking forward to see what you do with your new company and how you will evolve over the next few years.
Thank you, Vaibhav. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you so much for coming and being part of the show, and for contributing in such a way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again for coming today.
Thank you.